Thank you, folks, for clicking on the video. If you'd like to be notified when more great interviews become available, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that bell notification icon. Please be aware, however, that this interview does have adults using adult language. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Swamp Dog Games. Tonight, I have the pleasure of doing an interview with two of the folks over at Dead Tree Studios, Lobel and Zen. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing well, Lobel.
Lobel?
Global
I'm
L9 OBL.
I'm
Um,
assuming it's Leet speak, so I guess I messed that up already.
no, honestly, it is my PlayStation Network account that I made when I was like
Oh,
10 and in a hurry to get online, and it was just a random click of numbers and letters I threw together, and it is pronounced each letter individually, L9OBL.
okay,
That's it. That's all there is to it. Um, Most people call me L9 for short.
okay. So L9 and Zen, welcome tonight to Swamp Dog Games. You guys ended up put it down. Sending me a free copy of Dames of Asstoria to review. I know that's going to be on my next review list, but
Awesome.
as part of that, wanted to thank you guys in person for sending me this so I can take a review stab at it, and thank you guys for willing to be interviewed tonight too.
Yeah. Thank you for having us, and thank you for
Indeed.
reviewing the game.
So, you guys date back as a studio to 2014, correct? Or at least that's what it says on your website.
We started out as a consolidation of friends that planned to make a studio and release the studio by 2016. So
Hmm.
Okay.
We officially incorporated in about 2016, but we were doing this stuff since about 2014. But yeah, so if we say 2014 on the website, that is accurate. But legally, the illegal entity of Dead Tree Studios became a thing in 2016.
Okay. Now, any history, special history behind Dead Tree as a name, or at all?
Um,
Oh, already we're stepping in it, huh?
no, related to the company itself, not totally. It's a bit of an inside joke. So earlier, before we actually started this, we were talking about Fallout Equestria, our first game, and since I was a freelance graphic designer and I fuck around with that shit on my free time all the time, I got hooked up with the people who are doing the Fallout Equestria print project. So they're taking the web novel of Fallout Equestria, the Fallout Ponies uh, story, and they were officially printing it into actual physical books. And they had contacted me to make their covers. And the joke in that little section was that they were making Fallout Equestria Dead Tree Edition because books are just dead trees.
Mm-hmm.
And since the initial pull to us creating Dead Tree Studios was us turning the Fallout Equestria game we had made into books, we're like, oh, we're just doing the Dead Tree edition of it, making that joke, and then we just said, screw it, we'll do Dead Tree Studios, and so that's kind of where it comes from.
Oh, nice. As you said, I know we were talking a little bit before this started
Mm-hmm.
about your first actual RPG, which was Fallout Equestria. If you don't mind doing a little bit of a rehash for the folks that are catching it after we've started.
Do you want to do it, Jose, or shall I?
yeah, and I'm coming in clear, right?
Yes,
Yes.
you are.
All right. So Fallout Equestria, as it is, it's a D100 system first and foremost, and it is a parody of, if you haven't figured out, Fallout and My Little Pony. That's the base of it. So basically, it's a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It is based off the Fallout 3 with a splash of New Vegas story with references to the original 1 and 2. And in there, you obviously play uh, ponies of the My Little Pony universe, not of the show. If anyone is familiar with that, it's based off of the book, or rather the fanfic, which is turned into a book now, by KCAP, which was the original chronicle or the Tale of Old Pip as the fans know it. And that's basically the gist of it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Now, the D100 system, that's also the same engine that you guys use in the Dames of Astoria series. It's still a D100 system, but it's a completely different D100 system, correct?
Yeah, we don't use the same game engine, if you will, for Dames of Astoria. Dames of Astoria is a D10 success-based system out of combat, and then in combat we have a D10 roll over system, which we did technically pull from Fallout Equestria, because as we were playtesting the original bare bones system and kind of figuring out how we want the dice to work, we've kind of figured out that dice systems, success systems in combat suck, and so we brought over the D100 system from Fallout because that works really well for the most part. So there is a little bit of pull, and there are some things that we've pulled from Fallout Equestria, because if it isn't like advanced combat, if you haven't advanced combat actions, if you haven't gotten to that section of the book yet, it's like 6 pages, and you can do whatever the hell you want to do in terms of combat: pins, trips, chokes, tackles, flying
Slams.
tackles, slams. You can beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker. We have rules for using enemies as impromptu weapons. It's great. I love it.
So with
That
this, do I get to grab someone's skull and beat him to death with it then?
their own skull, I mean, they'd already be dead, unfortunately, if you pulled their skull out. But you could grab someone's skull and beat another person to death with it. You could grab another person's skull and beat him to death with the legs that are still attached too. If
That that being said, L9, that seems like a great thing for undead expansion.
Okay, I'm writing that down. Give me a sec.
Okay. I mean, I'm trying to
Undead.
figure out how that would work. At least reverse engineering it to Equestria, then with who are the undead guys again? The ghouls.
Ghouls.
Yeah.
Uh,
You take out your own spine, but your head is so hard, you just whack 'em.
I think they did that joke in both Red versus Blue and I think the Marvel Agent of Shield's bit.
Yep, you saw the Red Split one. Yep,
Oh.
that's how I saw it too.
Now, before going
This isn't scientifically possible.
But before going fully into Dames, though, I had one other question about your website. In there, it says the fear of leaving the '80s, but your games seem to be very early 2000s, both art and story focused, and so I was a little bit curious about that reference, what that's from.
that's, I think, just a joke. Um, Man, that's been so old since we put that in there, or so long since we put that in there. That was just a joke Biscuit made. Um, because I think that's just how he pitched the company to his friends and family.
Oh.
Um, because we did a lot of things kind of almost old schoolish. All of our character sheets are like 6 pages long, like
Mm.
kind of bringing back. And so I think it was just more of a joke Biscuit, our editor in chief, did, and we just ran with it because that's the kind of stupid shit we do.
Yeah, no one really questioned us about it, so we just
Mhm.
stuck.
First question we've ever gotten on that one. Um, so I don't have an answer.
Now, Dames of Astoria, this dates back, you said 2020 with the Indiegogo campaign.
Hmm.
What was that experience like going from printing off like your Astoria or your Equestria versus to actually a full on Indiegogo campaign, managing that and getting it to print?
I mean, we
So,
technically
whew,
tried to do an Indiegogo campaign for Fallout
yeah.
Equestria, but that one was horribly done.
So when
Oh,
you want to tell a story of me?
You can do it, doesn't matter.
Okay, so when we initially released Fallout Question, this is also when we were first starting a business, and we don't really know much about the tabletop scene or
We were
much
noobs.
about business, noob and everything. We thought, okay, we can break in here and let's see how we do. So when we initially started out,
The
we
thirsty
tried.
bronies will carry us to success.
Yeah. When we first started out, we decided to try releasing what we consider like a whole box set, a whole
It's
repertoire.
6 books.
Yeah,
oh, you guys wanted to go full out, huh?
we had
Oh,
six
that's how
books.
much content we had.
We had
Oh,
6 books. We
And
wanted to do figurines,
Mhm,
maps, GM layer. We had all that planned out. And
mhm.
initially we asked for $100,000 to get the whole thing out for people. We got 3,000.
We still got the books made.
Well, hey, yeah, that is true. Even after that, we said we got 3,000. What do we do? We released the first book. So after about another like 6 months, we released the first book, and 6 months after that, we released the second one. This is all paid for by us after at this point because
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
3,000 got us in the door of printing it with the Wasteland Survival Guide,
Yeah.
but didn't pay for it all. So we tripped in, we paid for that rest of that, and then we just kept making and printing and selling from there. And eventually, we got all six out in I want to say
2017? 18? Oh, no,
no
wait,
eight.
no, we started
mm,
2016, so it was 20. It was like all
2018,
3 years.
2019. Yeah,
Yeah,
3 years.
2019.
So
It's
3 years,
2019.
we got all six books out. We then released two expansions. It's an a adventure module,
Hmm.
and
We've got like
and
4 expansions out for it
we have four
now.
expansions now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we released a magic expansion to it. So even after the humongous failure of the first Indiegogo campaign, we was able to not only release it on time, uh, deliver what we
Oh
promised.
no, we did not release that on time. Dames did not, or I mean,
Not
sorry,
Dames.
Dames got released on time.
Dames got released done.
Dames got released a month ahead of our schedule. We had that shit down pat.
Mhm.
Um, no, Fallout Equestria was like 2 years late.
Well,
we
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 failed, so
released.
technically we wasn't really
Well, okay, we released the initial core rulebook of the Wasteland Survival Guide on
on
time.
time. Yes,
Everything else we just had to keep pushing
nothing
back.
falling. But yes, but it did get released in 3 years,
Mhm.
Okay.
Um,
And then,
and more. By the way,
yeah.
yeah. So even though it's still a pretty good success story considering what you had aimed for, and we're still able to get everything out too. It's quite a
Yeah,
success
we
story.
we just ended up paying everything out of pocket, and I mean, we could say the political thing and say that everything we paid for that was an investment into our own knowledge and future, I guess. Which I mean, uh, yeah, we fucked up phenomenally on that Indiegogo thing, but none of us knew what the hell we were doing with that. We put the game together, people loved it, but I mean, people have been playing the game already, and people already enjoyed the game. We made lots of mistakes with Fallout Equestria. Didn't really hurt the game too much in that regard because again, people liked it. And then we knew exactly what we were doing. We knew how our day-to-day lives, because we have day jobs,
Hmm.
affected our schedules. And so then when we went around and we did Dames and we did all of our pre-work, even before we started thinking about uh, crowdfunding it, we knew what to expect and we knew to kind of where to set our limits and kind of what to do. We had all the mechanics and all of the game pretty much done when we started crowdfunding for Fallout Equestria, and just because we didn't know what we're doing, it ended up being a shit show. A shit show we got through, a dumpster fire we stopped burning. Um, and then for for Dames, we're like, okay, well now we know what we're doing. We have a fan base of at the time 200-300 people, like a dedicated fan base. I mean, you've been in our Discord server, seen the
Yes,
crazy
it's
fucks there.
an
Um,
interesting place to say the
it
least.
is an interesting place. Um, I wouldn't trade any of those crazy fuckers for anything though. They're good people. Um, and I only say that because they give us money. No, I'm joking.
speaking of money, when we released the Indiegogo for Dames, this was also during the beginning of the
The
pandemic.
pandemic, yeah.
Hmm.
So
Um,
luckily, we didn't really get affected by any of the shipping
mhm.
backdrop because our release time when we planned for it is like, hey, you guys get this in 2022,
Yeah.
August 2022, and to that date, we hit it.
Yeah, we hit it. So yeah, when we set up for Dames, we knew what we were doing for the most part. We knew what to expect. We knew how our life schedules were going to affect things, and we just kind of knew, okay, this is going to be our cutoff. This is what we're doing. We're just doing a basic core rule book. We had all the lore already pretty much written out, just had to be, finalized, tweaked. We had to actually finish building the entire game. Um, which I know for some people was a bit of a okay, we're gonna wait till the game actually comes out and see what happens, which was perfectly fair. Um, and then most of those people actually came back and bought the game, which was great. When we actually released it, But yeah, we worked on the game. We managed our time appropriately, which was good. Um, and we actually, since we raised $12,000 and we budgeted appropriately, because that wasn't our problem with Fallout. We budgeted appropriately for Fallout. We just didn't get enough money to do anything. So we
Mhm.
did everything ourselves, and so we hired artists and this and that, the other thing, and things went a lot more smoothly. And uh, you know, wasn't perfect, obviously, because it's making a game and under a deadline, so shit happens. But we got everything done, and we had digital copies sent out to everyone who was owed a digital copy July, where we said we'd start fulfilling the game in August. And at the same time I sent out the digital copies, I sent everything for review to our printer,
Mhm.
because we were just using Ingram Spark because we don't have enough copies to be able to actually get a proper printer, which is fine. But we started doing all that post review process, and I started looking color correcting and getting proofs sent back from the printer, and then we got all of the books in our hand, all the ones that we had to order for everyone who pre-ordered it, the 200 some odd books or whatever. We got those in hand last week of August. Started mailing the first one out August 29th, which we started fulfillment in August. So it's a technicality, but it works. Uh, Considering the game was done and actually in people's
Mhm.
hands in July, though, it's a technicality that no one can really argue.
Yeah, it's still a pretty good success story. I know,
Oh,
considering a
absolutely.
lot of Indiegogos, any sort of crowdfunding, you guys though already had all that pain the first time to go through. So
Yeah.
your second one
Yeah.
looks like a much smoother overall operation.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, because again, we knew what to expect and we knew how to manage our time and we planned things accordingly for that one. Um, so that was good. Um,
Now,
and
mhm.
yeah, no, it's
No,
just
go ahead.
Sorry.
we're excited, and I mean, I'm always very happy with how the game turned out. So
Now, what made you guys make the decision to jump from Brony Bros to Waifu Simulator, or or
So
is that the correct term, or is Monster Girl a different category from Waifu?
it's
it can go
high
into it.
adventure. Think D&D with Monster Girls. I
Okay.
mean, we have the ASS because we're tongue in cheek. Also, because if you actually Google Astoria with one S, we'd get buried in Google search engine optimization. We'd be at the 20th fucking page
So not
because
just
there's a bajillion cities and provinces called Astoria.
so not
Um,
just for the tongue-in-cheek aspect of it, considering the Monster Girls, but you actually have a practical benefit from Astoria, the
yes,
name, too.
yes.
Nice.
Um, and I mean, that was actually our biggest thing during when we started uh started doing our Indiegogo. We had so many people. We had more issues with people going, why isn't this a sex game?
Oh,
which made me which I mean, fair
I,
point, I
I had a
Yeah,
guess.
we have both sides.
questions
Like,
later about
Yeah,
that, but yeah.
yeah. Um
but to answer your initial question, from ponies to monster girls, it was a business decision. I moved forward to try to help us,
yeah, we
because
didn't
we
want to get stuck in the pony hole.
yeah we didn't want to get stuck in ponies forever. But if we made our own system or whatever, we needed something for wide appeal.
Hmm.
Now, there's not many things in wide appeal that everyone in the team likes,
Hmm.
or and even so, even more so, everyone in the world likes, or or
Hmm.
niches like.
Hmm.
So I was like, I don't know, I like Monster Girls. Do you like Monster Girls?
Fuck yeah, I love Monster Girls.
Team, do you like Monster Girls? And you just hear them say, hell yeah.
Titty all
Ask,
day every
ask
day.
the Baboon instead.
But booty instead, my man.
Amen. And I was like,
Amen. Praise Michael.
Dead Tree Family, do you like Monster Girls? They're like, we can dig some Monster Girls. We can do some Monster Girls. And that was our decision. We
Hmm.
decided, oh, we're gonna make a Monster Girl game.
Yeah. The other option was A Knight's Tale, and That is not a game I'm allowed to talk about with my complexion.
Okay.
We can talk about that after the stream.
Yeah, that's not for the stream.
Yeah, okay. Let me write that down. I'm now interested. Alrighty. So, yeah, do want to thank you though. From I haven't seen the Fallout Equestria, just how far that goes, but I know there were a couple points reading through the book in my quick preview. I was like worried at a couple points. This looks like it's getting a little dangerously close to crossing that PG-13 line. But you guys have actually still created a very fun adventure, but still keeping it well within a PG-13 universe, so you can actually do it with others. that I thank you for not having that. I guess that sort of like fatal level crossing into that territory.
It was a decision I wanted to do because uh, I like Monster Girls, and I do enjoy you know its origins. Let's so say. However, I cannot really enjoy the origins with a broad group of people in daytime.
Yeah. Well,
So I decided, hey, let's play it for what it is, but it doesn't always have to be like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let's
we
try something new, and so let's try high fantasy, pseudo serious, and let's see what happens.
we wanted, like, because that's the thing, is when we were going Monster Girls, we essentially had two choices. We could go Monster Musume, which is tongue in cheek, a little bit funny, kind of sexy, relatively serious when you actually get into it. I know it's supposed to be an ecchi and whatever, but it really doesn't touch any of those really sexy stuff. It just has fun, sexy comedy, which is really the farthest we wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
Or we go Monster Girl Doctor, which absolutely makes me, I hate that anime so fucking much. Because it could have been so much more, and they threw all of the depth out for sex. And I went, no. Why is the girl who is getting neurosurgery done on her having a fucking orgasm? This is not fun. And that was kind of our point, is we towing the line's fine, because I love Monster Musume. It's so wholesome. Um I would definitely get the Miyazaki if I had money.
This is now all going over my head, and I'm really scared of what my Google searches are going to come up later when I try to get these questions answered now.
Uh,
Don't worry.
not.
Um
I guess if this is the gateway drug of Moscow for you, then I'm glad Dames was your first. It all goes
yeah,
downhill from there.
yeah, honestly. But yeah, we wanted high adventure, like high fantasy adventures, going on quests, D&D shit,
Mm-hmm.
really, because
But
that's
not
the
using
kind of
D and
stuff
D.
we like to do. Yeah, no. And then
Ironically, that worked out for us.
yes,
Um, on that note, I know I come from, I guess, the more traditional side of RPGs with D&D and the OSR community. I'm used to indie studios kind of doing a lot with the mechanics and maybe like coming up with like the broad strokes of a world creation. But you guys, the huge chunk of the start of the book is just on this whole massive world that you guys created.
Yes.
Uh,
yes.
So for the initial lore building of everything, that comes also with how we wanted to do this game for us, because we could have just did Monster Girls and said, "Hey, this is your world. This just has Monster Girls in it. Do whatever you want." And we could have left at that. Units of maximize value, build your own systems, etc. But that seemed not something I really wanted to do. And as the team, we like building our worlds, but we couldn't just say, "Hey, uh, make your own world for your Monster Girls," because you could do that anyway. You don't
mm-hmm.
literally, you could just take the character creation and everything out of the book and say, do your own thing if you wanted to. So I was like, why don't we just go just a bit step further? Let's see if we can create something and create a universe for why our Monster Girls are the way they are. That way, it's not always, hopefully, not always just going straight to the ecchi, the ERPs, the whatever. Maybe you just want to D&D with your boys.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the thing is too is a lot of where we come from when we make a game is we want games that we want to play. Because what's the fucking point of building a game if we're not gonna play it, right? And we like lore. We like good, well thought out, fleshed out worlds, and it's a bit of an inside joke with how much I detest Starfinder. Fucking hate Starfinder. Um,
Oh, from Paizo, their
Pfizer.
space.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was so on board with Starfinder too. Like I love the mechanics were really good. What I was being shown at the time was really good. And then I asked a basic question about the lore. Oh, where are the elves from? Oh, they're on Mars. Oh, so they moved to Mars after Galadriel fell? No, they were always from Mars. Fucking what? You mean they immigrated from Mars to Galadriel or wherever the fuck Paizo's fucking world is?
Yeah.
And that just shattered the entire world of Pathfinder and Pathfinder 2 for me. Because how do you get a spacefaring society crash landing enough that they can become their own faction essentially
Mm-hmm.
and not elevate the tech level of everyone around them?
You would
And it
think
was
so.
just such bad world building. It just
I
I
don't like the Gap personally.
you don't like their what?
Oh, their main crux, the Gap. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love
I
Starfinder and
kind
everything
I
else.
don't hate
I
I
hate.
don't hate
I don't like the
it.
Gap.
It's lazy writing, and I agree with you on that one. I don't totally hate it. If they leaned into the gap as a plot device more, I think it'd be great. But it's just
It's really
lazy.
what the Starfinder Society is based around, but
I,
you know,
I know, but they don't really lean into it at all.
not really. They're not going to ever find out what what caused the Gap.
There's no missions that actually truly involve it. It kind of gets dangled in the corner of your eye. That's about it. No, it's just normal Paizo lazy writing.
And just for both my own edification, though, I'll say it's because for those who don't know what you're talking about, I played Starfinder back when it came out, and then sort of like dropped off as well. Just I didn't mechanically like it. D&D, the D&D and space mechanics just wasn't my thing. If I'm going to do space, I want a different rule set. That's
Mm,
the sort of like Shadowrun. There's a period of time that like disappears, and now we're trying
mm-hmm.
to figure out what happened in that 50-year-ish period or something like that.
Oh, for
I thought it
Starfinder,
was
it's like 300.
200.
A 300 or
Whatever.
something, yeah.
It's long enough that it's a big deal for
Mm.
everyone involved. And again, like I could forgive it, but like the crunchy lore is my thing. And I mean, I was a big fan of, and I'm still a big fan of Warframe, and the amount of times I'd get into like multi-hour long arguments with one of our other you know compatriots, Ty, about little niggly details in the world because there's a little fucking blurb about yay fucking big. And that was always so much fun because the world had so much. I mean, part of it's just bad writing that they forgot about, um, but it just kind of it landed in the right spots for them for DE and stuff like that. Just made the world so much cooler, and I wanted to actually get invested in the world. And that's kind of what we wanted with Dames is we
And
wanted something that people could get invested in, and so we put a lot of effort into building our world. Now
you can see it
what
in the book you have there. You see the
Mm-hmm.
little blurbs of like the
Mhm,
chimera we have, the little monsters. So
mhm,
you know, little something while people are reading.
Yeah.
yeah. And
Oh,
sorry
sorry.
not to cut you off.
Oh no.
And yeah, and so like I mean, the lore in the book is a very quick overview because it's 2000 1200 years of history
Mm-hmm.
condensed into 30 pages.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we're not making a world. Oh gosh, how much
Atlas.
is our book? Yeah, we're not making a world atlas. We're not making a 400-page world
Oh
guide.
nuts.
I mean, we will eventually if there's enough interest. Um, but like,
Because I know if you don't mind repeating what you had said before we started recording, I know you were talking about the creation myth of Astoria, how you were like very insistent on making sure that your creation myth made sense and helped drive the story. You just didn't want to throw, hey, creation stories sound cool and therefore cool shit happens. You actually wanted a logically consistent background for your universe in there.
Yeah, especially since it deals with specifically monster girls.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to explain it.
Yeah, and since technically you can't be a monster guy in the game, there needs to be a reason why you can't be a monster game. Or you can't be a
Monster game.
monster guy. Yeah, monster game. Why you can't be a monster dick and you can only be a monster chick. And if you give a good enough reason, most people are going, yeah, fair enough. That sounds good to me. Because most people are reasonable and they don't want to have their suspension of disbelief broken.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, God made everything. God fucked around, made kids, found out he was a bad dad. Kids rebelled. God punished them and cursed them by not ever being able to birth men. So now they're forced to breed with the humans. Um, because they rebelled and tried to kill God. And when you explain it that way, they go, yeah, it makes sense that there's no monster men around. And then at the same time too, is since you have that 1,000-year span before the curse happened, if you really want to be a monster man, you could just have your world take place or have your game take place before or soon after the curse happened. And there you go. No reason to not be a monster dick if you really want to be a monster man. But why would you? You bought a game about big titty monster girls or small titty monster girls as flat as your justice.
I don't know. I'm still thinking of that picture of that Lamia chick in there, and she's pretty
You're
full body. So,
right.
Believe it or not, that's not when we was advertising on Facebook.
oh
We
dear.
got banned.
Mm. We were running ads, like we knew we were going to launch in August, and so we were running ads since like February. And the main ad was, and it's in the book somewhere because I know I used the art in the book.
It's the
Uh,
cover.
no, it wasn't was it the cover that
It was
got
the cover of
banned?
the first ad that got banned, and then we changed it to the army.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we're using, okay, you're right. Yeah, the cover, that was the main ad.
Let me see if I can pull it up in frame just to highlight.
Mhm.
There's like
It's a full
this
wraparound.
is yeah. Unfortunately, my auto screen correct, but
There you go.
oh yeah, there we go. Here's a good angle. Like there is nothing about this that is bad by any stretch of the imagination. I have seen much worse anime ads on Twitter and Facebook
Yeah.
than this. This is a very like upper PG. I wouldn't even argue this branches into the PG-13 realm, this front cover here.
Let me put it this way. Gen Con lets us run this game under PG-13 every year for the last
Well, I
3
mean, some of the
years.
content is could go into
Sure.
PG-13, but cover
The
art
only thing
wise,
Gen Con has ever asked us is to fully clarify in our little blurb that
mm-hmm.
this is a PG-13 game. That is the only thing they've ever asked us to clarify. And they're like, yeah, is this a PG-13 game or is this a sex game? Because, the name Astoria, this was before the game
Yeah.
really came out. And we're like, oh, no, it's a PG-13 game. And he's like, oh, okay. Uh, blurb, give me a blurb, like right up into go back into your editor for events and edit the game and put in the long form. Doesn't even have to be the short form, just the long form version that this is wholeheartedly a PG-13 game. And I went, okay, sure. Typed up another 2 sentences, and then it just boom. All right, you got a game. And then I've been copying and pasting that for the last 4 years because we're just running demo games every year, and I haven't ever had an issue with them. And Gen Con's very, very adamant about 18 plus after hours in the right time frame. You
Mm-hmm.
can't get shit by them. They will absolutely, and they'll blacklist you because they take that shit seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no issues with Dames of Astoria.
Yeah.
After running and taking our money for 4 months, Facebook decided, no, you're not allowed to have this cover art because it is too sexually explicit. And we went, fucking what?
I'm like just thinking of the number of times I've seen that damn Raid Shadow Legends and the artwork they post, and I would argue that is much more explicit than what you guys have on the cover. I mean, again, the content wise, you can get pushing into the PG-13 category, but just the cover art, you are not in PG-13 territory with that.
Mhm.
That is
And I mean,
insane.
you're right. We do have a couple things in there that are explicitly like, 18 plus. Like, when we go into diseases, we got a disease called dysentery, and then we have a Oregon Trail reference. And that is not PG-13 because you're too young to get that reference. That is 45 plus. that is a triple X reference.
I don't know. I still play my Oregon Trail, so I'm not that old.
Oregon Trail or Oregon Trail? There is a difference.
I must have misheard you because I heard Oregon Trail.
I said Oregon Trail. Yeah,
Or
Oregon. Like the state of Oregon.
sorry, yeah,
Um,
Oregon Trail. There's an
yeah.
Oregon Trail
No,
too.
no, no. I thought you said Oregon Trail.
Oh, okay.
Because Oregon Trail is
Blame
a
my.
mod / reimagining of Oregon Trail, except zombies.
I did not know that was a thing, but I'm not surprised.
If you like Oregon Trail, you'll like Oregon
Though I
Trail.
blame my New York accent for the Oregon Trail rather than the Oregon Trail at the moment. But I'm not. The more you know, type thing, I guess.
Now we know, and knowing is half the battle.
Mm-hmm.
The other half is egregious violence.
Mm. Though, going back to as you were talking about God and the universe, I didn't. It didn't slip by me. I mean, Zen and on the website you still go by Zaquan on there,
That's his
and
real name.
Zaquan. Well, yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Well, you
Zen
can
is
say
your
his real
nickname.
name.
Doxed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it says it on your website.
Just saying.
But
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's
but,
also in the book.
yeah, but notice the Zaquarius is the main god here, and the sort of the self insert, which then highlighting to what you said about what God does in this universe. I have a few questions about that
Okay.
particular self insert there, but
All right.
It's not actually a self-insert.
Yes. Believe it or not, I did not name myself the god.
okay.
I named him God.
He named it
Oh,
god.
Because before I was telling you about how, like, because Dames of Astoria is Zen's game. It's his fever dream. It's his child. It's his universe. It's his everything.
mm-hmm.
And when we were first discussing the game and he was first pitching it and first kind of building it, I had asked the question, okay, well, why Monster Girls? Why can't we be Monster Men? Because we'd all agreed we don't want Monster Men. We want Monster Girls. It's a
Mm-hmm.
Monster Girl game. Um, and you know, after that evening, I was drunk because we were having a meeting and I was drinking, as you do. Um, and I went and I had a shower, and shower thoughts became shower thoughts, and I just came up with the premise of God's Zeus-esque God who's a terrible, uh, terrible father, and you know, his children revolt and he curses them. And I came up with the premise for pretty much that first 1,000 years. And I felt really bad because I felt like I had just absolutely stolen his child from him or something. And so I decided to appease him, I would name him God. Because I felt, uh, and we decided that God will be very tall. Because Zen is about 4 foot nothing with the hair.
Nice.
Uh,
Okay, because a couple other times that are some of the other references than self inserts or follow that same type of thing, just like trying to one up your friends in the book. The
We have some references in there that are like thank yous. Like
mhm.
if you see one of the gods in the book, she's called the Mother of Monsters. That's actually our artist, and she wasn't
One of
planned for.
ours, but our
Yeah,
main
one of our
artist.
artists. She wasn't planned for the book, but her help with doing not only the chimera but the weapons and armor, she wasn't planned for being the god in the book, but we made her a god, right?
Yeah.
okay,
So things like that.
When we had the game, the Indiegogo just launched, she created 100 different chimera on a live stream with us
mm.
in like a couple hours. Just and just churned out a list of 100 of these chimera, and we're like, oh, fuck, okay. So yeah, and she's been a super big help, and the joke was that she's the mother of monsters because she just crushes out these really fantastic chimera. If you've looked in the book and looked in the bestiary,
Yeah,
um,
I love the artwork. It's got that sort of, as I told you earlier, my original interest in the game was it kind of reminded me of the Flash games from the early
mhm,
2000s, but the more modernizing, like half Flash, half Japanese
mhm.
anime look that they have really is a nice art style. I mean, I would kill just that artwork in a bestiary all its own to have is a pretty good artwork in there.
Oh yeah, no, her especially for the monsters, her art is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, our rule of thumb is take between 2 and 5 monsters and smash them together however the hell you want. And so she came up with some really cool stuff.
Hmm.
There's a handful of stuff that, we came up with because we either had ideas, like the woolly scorpion was an idea we had floating around in our head forever. The Astra's Chimera was just, a mythical chimera thrown into the game. That's the first chimera.
Yeah,
'Cause
the
it's
break
actually the first.
icebreaker.
Yeah, it's the first one we made too. So, um, and then we were sitting there going, okay, well, we're doing a high fantasy game. There's a lot of like D&D adventure esque attempt at this.
Hmm.
Well, not being D&D and all, but you and I, you get the point.
Hmm.
And we're like, okay, well, we're gonna need goblins, orcs, ogres, trolls. So we came up with the globinoids. And the little bug things, and they're little globlins.
Yep, the
And
insect
that's why I
monkeys.
called them globlins, glowing goblins.
Nice.
Um,
All right. Speaking of the artists involved, as you
mhm,
said, great artwork. I do love it. It's a very nice,
thank you.
distinctive style that gives your book its own. I personally prefer style over necessarily like realistic or any
Hmm.
thing else because when you get that stylistic approach, it really stands out. And you guys do that. But not only art, but you guys, interestingly enough, I just complimented the 13th Age in a video recently about their soundtrack. You guys also have an RPG soundtrack for your game. I
Yes,
saw that.
very small one, but yes, we do
Yeah.
because we are poor.
uh, but
There
yeah,
it is, by the way, great composer.
Mhm.
yes.
Should commission him.
Yeah, I was.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah, I was listening to the music. You can tell it's sort of in that nice fantasy realm, but it's not.
Mhm.
It doesn't feel like that. What genre? It doesn't feel like royalty free. It actually feels like a good composer put together a nice. Um,
He is very skilled.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't want to say generic because it makes it sound like I'm devaluing it, but sort of like a basic adventure background music for your game
Yes,
that you have. That
Generic's fine.
yeah,
A quality generic,
yeah.
if you
yes,
really want
because
to
they
put it
it
that
was made to be on loop essentially.
Hmm.
Not the one with the lyrics. That's more for
Yeah,
us, but
that one was what originally made me start thinking anime with your game because that one sounded more like an anime opening. But yeah, the
mm,
rest of it sounds like you could definitely have on loop in a combat situation or a nice action moment in your game. And I wouldn't mind, as I said, listening. I was listening to that in the car and was like, oh, "This is a pretty nice track, actually." The couple ones that you guys had.
Mhm.
thank
Which one would you say is like sort of? Are any of them just that background, or is it like any one that comes up that is like the theme song of your game? Would you say?
let's see. I gotta look at it real fast. But the one that has the lyrics in it, that actually is a uh that is the core of what a dame, which is the monster girl who is she her goal is trying to be, going for. That's why it has the picture of our dog girl, yeah, Cassie, because that was basically her story. Times of war, rise up and hopefully get to the end. That I guess that would be our main Dane's theme if we were to choose one of it.
Okay.
The others are basic adventures and time of war. That was called. And the
Hmm.
other ones are ready for combat, ready for adventure, just to get you in there, get you pumped, and then when you're in combat, obviously to fight.
While you're looking that up, also a quick question. I haven't forgotten the Knight's Tale and still want to ask that later. But the dames part of the name, is that sort of a holdover from the original Knight's Tale option, or
No.
why just Dames of Astoria or Astoria, just to go into the female centric nature of it, or what was behind that name choice?
So when we were kind of shopping a name, when we were trying to come up with a name, the working name for this game for years while we were kind of working on it behind the scenes before we talked on it was Monster Girl Quest, the ttrpg. Um, because that kind of unfortunately encapsulated a lot of ideas that we wanted. Um, and we're a bunch of degenerates. Um, so, oh, the Monster Girl Quest game. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So we knew what we were talking about. So that was its working name. And when we actually had to decide it for a name, um, we were trying to come up with things, and every name we kept coming up with, um, you
Monster Girl,
know,
Monster Girl, Monster Girl.
yeah, well, everything we came up with was already taken. Anything that kind of sounded like it was a good name for our game, um, was already taken.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or, you know, the other names were just really terrible and didn't fit the game.
That too.
And since a lot of the idea behind why the monster girls, why the demifauna become, adventurers, is so that they can become knighted to bring prestige to themselves and their race and their family and their whatever. The get out the ghetto kind of story almost. Um, well, what's the female of a knight? A dame. So the world is called Astoria. Yeah. Dames of Asstoria. That seems to work. Because the whole end game, becoming max level in the game,
Mm-hmm.
essentially has you knighted as a dame. Um, so yeah, that's really where it came from. It wasn't a holdover from any of the other games that we have working on, like A Knight's Tale. Um, it's just it fit because yeah.
Alrighty. Now, for your guys' system, like I'm used to, most companies will try to create just one system and then make everything off that. You guys have had two unique systems. Granted, the Dames may inherit some DNA from the first one, but you guys have done a hell of a lot of R&D development in two different games. What made you go with making an entire thing from scratch rather than going the off-the-shelf approach, like borrowing something from
uh, Instead of just doing a Fallout Equestria rehash.
well, either that or why even then make a whole new RPG system from scratch for Equestria too, instead of getting like an off the shelf system.
Oh, instead of doing like 5e or OSR or
Yeah.
Mhm.
something. Because
So, since I'm the lead game designer, um, when we're doing the game, I kind of workshop Dames of Astoria. Like first, I tried to use Fallout, and it worked to an extent, but it didn't. People don't like using Fallout question system for fantasy, so
Mm-hmm.
that was the first thing.
and that, and we'd also agreed that we just didn't want Dames to be a reskin of Fallout Equestria.
Yeah,
And if we used
and
the base rule system, it would have pretty much just felt like a reskin.
yeah, some changes, but more or less it was just everything
Hmm.
else would be the same. So I was like, okay, they don't like using that. We'll change it. So when the option came, says we did think like, hey, should we maybe take something that's already exists, i.e., D&D or whatever else is out there, or point building systems, masterminds.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, Knight hates point building systems,
I
like Moons and
hate them.
Masterminds, Besm. So he said, okay, that's out. We don't use that. I don't like. I won't say I don't like D&D. I like D&D, but
We don't like
I
5e. We liked 3.5.
yeah, I like
Yo.
3.5 Pathfinder.
Man,
That's what I meant. But I wouldn't consider myself skilled enough to actually write for Pathfinder or 3.5 or even 5e really. Most because
yeah,
I don't like 5e, but so
yeah, we don't play them enough.
we haven't played it enough. And in an alternate universe where Zen, when he first played his first tabletop game, was D&D, there's probably a universe where Dames is the 5e or something right
Hmm.
now. But since I started with the 100 systems, I went for that. So when I sat down and asked L9, okay, what do we want? And he says, I want this, 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 and this. And I said, I got you. So after about a year or two, workshop and playtesting at conventions, both Pony and Gen Con, it eventually came to this new system. It's like, okay, so I can get everything we want. I can get the monster building system that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
We can get the skill system that allows for the same amount of choice that we had in Fallout, because in there we have a perk system where they in the classes system where they can basically make their own stuff, picking out and choosing talents and perks and feats and everything. And and we have a pseudo class system that allows the same thing here. So with those his constraints, I was like, okay, I have everything here. The only thing that was not truly clicking was making the combat fun with everything else. Uh, to our standard, I should say. So that's why the split between combat and actual role playing came
Mm-hmm.
into play. As people are gonna role play as they do. You don't really need too much mechanics for it. It's all there. You got that. The combat part where people are gonna be doing it, that's what we excel at, and that's also where we have the most experience in. How is it gonna make that fun with what we're doing now? I was like, oh well, this works. So I took that over, but everything else was built more or less from scratch and trying to put it together. And if you play a game with us, you'll see that it does work. Much because everything is able to be clearly understood by all parties involved.
Mm-hmm.
You I can explain more, but I don't know how many more questions you have.
Well, I mean, whatever you want to let them know about your design philosophy for it would be great. So,
Gotcha. So when we do our D100 system, like for Fallout, it's basically a D100 roll under.
mm-hmm.
It didn't exactly work out here. So when I tried to switch it over, see what's going on, I was like, okay, we'll go to traditional rollover status. What do we need? We need how often people are going to hit. Let's see, I could take over the skills from that from the previous game, and say, okay, now it's a rollover system. Maybe borrow some things from Cyberpunk. Let's see how that goes. And by workshopping it, nothing really quite felt right because I was trying to fit too many things into it. Uh, and it didn't quite work with the systems that used anything but the
Mm-hmm.
D100 system. Mainly because if I used any other system, the initial boost or things people get from dice will either be too small or vastly superior to each other. Example, if I have like D&D and I have a +1 modifier versus +5, that's just all that would just been for the whole game, and I said that 5 would have been boring.
Mm-hmm.
So by using this roll over D100 system and not having that uh, change, it's always D100 for combat. The only thing that you will have to roll over will be the enemy's dodge chance. That's our elite to AC because I
Mm-hmm.
can include it, but I never really liked that in D&D where if you got past the quote unquote AC or dodge chance in this case, you just got hit
Mm-hmm.
and you took 4 damage of whatever they rolled. Doesn't matter what armor you wore. Like I guess the AC wasn't being incorporated into your armor, but I didn't like it. So I said, okay, I want to add, you know, damage reduction like we have in our previous game. So we have a DC where you have to roll over that determines your 2 hit, which is the D100. Then after that, you just do simple subtraction from your armor and the damage that you do for your weapon, which is determined by your skill. And obviously the weapon. Skill plus weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and that was the basis. And I said, okay. Ran a game a couple times. I was like, that works. Anyone have a problem with it? Is it concise enough? Is it quick enough? Do you feel that you're lacking anything? They say no, and it went forward from there. That way, then we was able to build upon it. We expanded with our like Elna was saying earlier, or advanced combat, or pinning or chokes or slams. We were able to incorporate magic into it because our AP system really only applies to combat. Because when you're out of combat, you're not judging the players by you talked for like 4 AP next person's turn. People
Mm-hmm.
don't play like that.
Yeah.
So, so it didn't really matter what
Yeah.
everything else was in the actual RP section of it. It all came down
Wait,
to
you said
combat.
I talked for 4 AP, but
You
talking's a free action.
exactly.
Oh, that discussion again. Yep.
Yeah. So I was like, so we hyper focused on that to get that polished,
Okay.
and was able to build everything around it. It's like, okay, this is what we have here. As long as you know, have a full set of dice on you, you'll be able to play the combat no problem. As long as you have a D10, even just one D10, you can play uh, the the rest of the game no problem. The RP side no problem. The skill checks no problem because that's all you need for that section. And that was able to keep everything clear to the player what mindset they're supposed to be in for each section. And hopefully that answers your question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah. As
It
I said, I'll be doing a review of that over the weekend and then posting it on Thursday, and so I
Oh,
can't wait to
thank
see the system and actually get a chance to read it more in depth what you guys did. But thank you for your philosophy behind your design choices for it.
Yeah.
well,
And the combat is, well, I mean, it's got a lot of options and a lot of choice, and it can be kind of crunchy at times. Our combat system and really overall our rules system is, despite all the crunch and all the extra, it's concise enough that I can sit you down in a 4-hour session, not only teach you the rules enough to be able to play. You're not going to make a character, but when you go to conventions, you hand people pre-made
Mm-hmm.
character sheets. But I can hand you a pre-made character sheet, teach you the rules, and run a pretty big session with one, two, three combat sessions plus a boss fight in under 4 hours.
Okay.
I saw those eyes
Not
go,
bad.
what?
Yeah, I'm like I've run a couple convention, been part of a convention game of the organizing aspect of it. Just thinking of a couple of the epics, trying to get all of that done as a pain, or a D&D epic is a pain enough, and like that's actually quite a bit that you're getting done in a session.
mm,
Now,
it,
and keep in mind, we're teaching people who've never touched this game before.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
quite,
they've
I
touched,
mean, quite literally.
yeah, oh yeah, quite literally. But maybe they've played other games before. Maybe they've played something a little bit similar, like Shadowrun, um, or a D100 system, or you get a lot of people at Gen Con who's never played a tabletop game before. This seems cool. Their friend drags them along, and that's their introduction to the world of tabletop. And we've had a couple people who were like, "Oh no, I've never played games before." Oh, well, let us be your first. Let us pop that cherry for you. We'll be more than happy. And I mean, man, did um, there's some crazy shit that some people will pull. Um,
Kids too. Like
Do not invoke his name, say.
so,
Now you got to share the story.
so this is back when this was actually a Fallout Equestria game, but we ran for kids for Dames of Asstoria too when they joined the campaign. But this was the first. Uh, we call him Low Timmy because I honestly forget his name, but we call him Low Timmy. There was a zebra character we had for pre-gens, and he came over. He was like 7-year old kid. He took the character and Taze told him the basic stuff. Hey, do you want to play? Yeah, etc. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll play. So he's around the table, and I go through asking anyone to introduce themselves, and I introduced them the party to the benefactors. Like, hey, can you do this job for us? Slay some raiders, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll pay you. And we have him, the zebra, a minotaur, a donkey, a goat, having a blast. Go for all of them. Then I get to little Tim, and he's a little kid, so I go a bit slower. I'm just like, hey, so how do you want to talk to this guy? He's saying, hey, he'll offer you to do a job, get rid of some raiders. What do you do? And he looks for his character. He's like, what do I have? And I was like, and we tell him like, oh yeah, you're a zebra who does this, this, this. You have a shotgun. You have a gun here. You can attack. You know, and you summon spirits, etc.
Mm-hmm.
He says, oh, okay. Um, let's see. I look at the guy. I pull out my pistol and ask him to give me more money. And I was like, he's a 7-year-old kid. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, so that's very funny, kid. Like, but we're doing the thing here. Get back in the character. He's like, haha, kid, you're funny. But I got a job for you. Do the job for us, but please. And he says, okay. He looks back for his character sheet. I pull out the shotgun and tell him to give me more money. And at this point, the rest of the party starts saying, I think you should give him more money.
Oh,
And he
nice.
became the de facto leader for that game.
Uh,
Oh, nice. What great negotiating skills he's developed.
right.
He was fun.
Uh,
Oh, nice.
and
Oh,
that is why the Philly Scouts are the most feared in all of the wasteland. Uh,
And simple story: a teenage girl came for the Dames game on Gen Con last year. She played the Drider that's on the back cover of there,
mm-hmm.
and she was just loving the combat. She was says, "Oh, I'm worried. I can take my weapon and throw my companion out, and they get a free attack. That stuff like that."
she can do the fastball special.
Did you like the Brown Spell special?
Nice.
Yeah. Um.
Oh, at level 1.
Yeah. Um. A lot of good con stories here and there.
Oh, aren't there always? Oh, it's been ages since I've gone to go to a convention. So have you guys been doing it over the pandemic then? Or when did
Not doing the
you
pandemic.
guys last
Yeah,
get to
a
Gen
lot of
Con?
the things we'd want to go to either got canceled or pushed back. We did
Yeah.
go to Gen Con last year,
Mm-hmm.
because that was the first year that they were in person. And we're planning on going to Gen Con this year. So if you're going to Gen Con this year, hit us up. We'll definitely love to
I
hang
got
out with you.
this year I got to see about that, but if I am able to get down there again, would love to hit you guys up.
Perfect.
Awesome.
I guess I've got one last question for y'all before we move into the offline segment of it. For what is your guys', I guess, fan content policy for the game? I know over in the OSR/D&D space, we recently had that whole OGL debacle, and so that's kind of become a hot topic in my groups. Wondering like, what are those policies for you guys for third-party content? And so, what was wondering what yours is.
Oh yeah, everyone in the mother starting their
Yeah,
own system, and like I did it first.
yeah.
Yeah.
Our major big thing on this is one, share it with us because we're interested. We want to see it. Which I know technically legally we shouldn't do. But we man, it's a game. Have fun.
Do
If
whatever you
you
want.
are do whatever the hell you want. If you are blatantly selling our stuff, that is a big no-no. If you're just essentially repackaging the book, but if you make a Dames of Asstoria adventure module and you sell it and you make more money than we ever did, that's good on you, man.
You hiring?
Uh, yeah. You want a job? That's probably going to be our response. Um, but at the same time, if he made it more money than we ever did, that means he's also selling our system. So,
No.
right, it's the same thing. Like you get some of those older game designers who are like, no, my game has to be played exactly my way. This is how I intended Man, I don't give a shit how you play the game. You bought the fucking book, right? Yeah, great. Do whatever you want, my friend. Um,
Burn it. I don't care. Like,
um,
Well, if we ever go into your
I mean, I
Fallout
want you to enjoy
Equestria
it, but
dystopian future, I mean, we might need to burn it for fuel, but hopefully we'll get to avoid that potential future.
don't worry.
And
We
just
have
get to
actually
it.
blank pieces of paper and all of our books at the back, so you can write your own
yeah,
notes. Use that
actually,
first.
Yeah,
um,
I noticed that. I wasn't one of the questions I had, but yeah, the notepad paper at the back was interesting
yeah,
that you guys had.
Hmm.
Nice, interesting design choice.
And for
well,
in case you want to write something for there, you don't want to mark up your book, put it in there.
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of people, you'd be surprised at how many people actually like want and use this feature in the back of their book.
Hmm.
I mean, it's obviously not like 50 or 80% of people. I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of people don't want to write in their book. Uh, but it's like 80+% of people who'd write in their book regardless. And the first time we introduced this feature, which was actually with Fallout Equestria, we brought a demo book of the the Wasteland Survival Guide, the core rulebook, and the guy's flipping through it, and like graybeard, like full on, like he's been playing games his entire life kind of deal. And he looks through it, and he gets to the back, and he sees it, and his eyes just light up, and goes, "Wait, you've got lined paper in the back?" Yeah. And he drops the book, and he just hugs. It was me and who else was it? Who
Think
was
of
just in
Biscuit.
reach? Pardon? I think it was Biscuit. Just boom! Oh my gosh, I'm buying this book right away. Okay.
Wow.
And since then we've thrown it in all of our books that are printed.
Okay, writing down my notes to steal from you guys for my design project next time. Include
Sure.
lined note paper.
And I mean, again, like it doesn't have to be a whole lot. We've only got 4 pages in the back of this one.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to do homebrew, if you're wanting to do um edits to rules, you're wanting anything in terms of whether it's mechanics, something that you're going to reference quickly. Why have 1,000 pieces of paper when you can write it in the book and technically not actually ruin the rest of the book?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's just a thing we do on anything we publish now. Partly because the one man was so enthused, but even outside of him, we've had a lot of people go, no, we actually quite actively like that. I know a lot of people said, "Oh man, I love this idea," and then they never write in the book, which at the same time is fine.
Yeah.
But the fact that it is there for people seems to have been a big bonus. Um, and so yeah, we're just like, all right, cool. I mean, sure, does it increase our printing costs? Yeah, but
For the customer.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for coming in tonight to do this interview. I know, as I said, there's still a couple offline questions I want to ask you guys before I let you go for tonight. But in the meantime, for those who want to buy your book, what are your social media links and your store contact info? So.
Okay. We are. I want to say
Dead Tree
on.
Studios.
Yeah, I mean we're Dead Tree Studios. If you Google us, Dead Tree Studios, we usually come up. I think there's an except on YouTube. We come up if you go Dead Tree Studios, but there's another place, another company that shows up too, and they seem to be a whole bunch of kids making weird videos on YouTube.
Okay.
Like they got like 10 views tops. So I mean, you can give them some love too. I'm not gonna.
But deadtreestudios.com.
Yeah, www.deadtreestudios.com.
We also have Facebook. We have Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
We actually started posting on YouTube again, so that's good.
Yeah, I saw
Yes.
them a couple uploads in the last week.
Yes.
Yeah, Dead Tree
On many long
Studios.
videos.
Uh, at Project Dead Tree is our Twitter handle, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we're Facebook slash Dead Tree
By the way,
Studios.
we're not social
You
media
know
people.
what? Hey, I got a business card here that also has QR links. So
There you go.
if that
Hopefully, my
glare
resolution
doesn't.
on my end ain't bad. But yeah.
This is the future right here.
Yeah, just hold up the business card to the
There you go.
screen.
That's our Discord and our website right there. Which really, the Discord is the biggest place if you ever want to get a hold of us or bug us or find out anything or hit any of us
Most active
directly.
on Discord.
We're
So
most
I have
active on
problem with
Discord.
books. Just get on Discord, message us, or email.
Yeah, which is discord.gg/deadtreestudios. Because we have enough people throwing boosts at us that we can now get a vanity link.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
The benefit of loyal fan base, huh?
Exactly.
Wouldn't trade it for the world.
No, would not trade it for the world. We got some good fans.
Oh, nice. Well, in that case,
We've
I'll
also
make
got
sure...
merch too. So.
Oh,
Yeah, buy our
awesome.
Pardon?
Buy our merch.
Yes, buy our merch. We got some cool T-shirts. A newest T-shirt that just came out. I actually got one over here. If I can get over to it. One sec. Chibi little shirt that just came out. If you can see it.
Oh, okay. Now I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So baby chimera.
Baby Astra's Chimera. Nice. I actually have one. I mean, that one's one I ordered that was too small. Because apparently I got fat.
Oh,
Um,
the pandemic did it to us all, man.
yeah. But yeah, like I got that. We got a T-shirt of our
Cover.
full cover too, if you want that. And, so yeah, we got merch. Buy our merch.
Outstanding. Well, if anyone wants, again, Dames of Astoria, go to project or deadtreestudios.com and pick up.
ProjectDeadTree.com works too.
Project Dead Tree works too. Okay. Get a copy. Help support independent RPG development. Don't let the big megacorps pull another WotC mess. Actually, get some indie studios out there and give them some love. So, thank you guys again for the book. I'll be getting that review out shortly, and I'll make sure to publish this review in your guys' Discord when I put it
Awesome.
on live. Hopefully Tuesday.
Fantastic.
Is hopefully the goal.
Looking
So,
forward to it.
Thank you very much.
So, to the audience, see you later, and to you guys, now we get to the fun conversation. Okay, where's my vodka? Okay.
Let me get a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Let me refresh my drink.
No. Alrighty. See everyone else next time, and I'll talk to you guys shortly. So.